So next up, we have Michael Leon Guerrero from Grassroots Global Justice, our director, and Maria Poblet, also member of the coordinating committee and director of Causa Justa, Just Cause, who are going to take us through a whirlwind state of the world, state of GGJ.
So we have, as Cindy said, a very small task, which is to basically try to make sense of everything that's going on in the world, and GGJ's place in it and what we're going to do. And I think Cindy kind of walked us through this morning. The idea of today is that we want to give as much information as we can, to share as much information as we can with each other that we need to know about to make decisions moving forward. What do we need to keep in mind for the global picture, for the national picture, for our local struggles, to help us make decisions about the work we need to do leaving on Sunday, right? So that's what our task is today. So we want to make this as much of a sharing as possible. So Maria is actually going to kick us off, and then we're going to have a little PowerPoint, a little bit of presentation, a little bit of discussion. So
if we're going to talk about the state of the world, we have to start by acknowledging that things don't stay the same. Things are always changing all the time. And that's a great opportunity for revolutionaries and visionaries that want to change everything to know how things are changing and intervene. Some people call that dialectical historical materialism. Other people just experience it. And right now, we're going to check back with ourselves as Grassroots Global Justice Alliance. Last time we met was in February of 2010, and a lot has happened since then. So we can't have the same meeting now that we had then. So I'll ask you to, in a pair with somebody who's next to you, just talk about what is different in the world since February 2010. Significant things that are different between then and now. And just take a couple minutes to do that.
okay, somebody throw something out. What did you come up with?
Arab Spring.
Arab Spring. I got some jazz hands. No twinkle fingers. Jazz hands. Okay, what else?
Don't hurt yourself.
Yes?
The Obama hangover.
Obama hangover. Hey, yes?
Corporations are people.
Corporations are people. Okay, one more.
Poverty is higher than it's been in 40 years.
Poverty higher than 40 years. Yeah? Clayton, do one more.
Yeah, Patrick's mentioned one thing that's changed has been Republicans saying that we should get out of Afghanistan and Democrats saying that we should stay in.
Okay. You want to do the last one?
Laws that pass in Arizona is happening in several states, including Alabama and Georgia.
Immigrant laws that have passed in Arizona have now passed in other states. Very good. And Florida. Yes. Okay. So let's is it Bernie or can go ahead? Let's take this last one.
Domestic workers has changed the law in New York.
There we go. That's good. Then on a positive note. Okay, so like we try to do every day, trying to make sense of everything that's going on in the world right now. So what I'm going to do is some observations. Now, if you want a deep sociological analysis or you want a deep economical analysis, you can maybe go down the street to NC State. That's what we're not going to do here. I'm just going to give some of my observations and then we're going to share. So anyway, state of the world. Right, left, and center. So what we're going to talk about is what are the forces that are in motion. We're going to touch on different things. We're not going to go deep, like I said. We're going to look at some international, what's happening, because we are a grassroots internationalist alliance. We're going to look at the national picture and then just look at some trends that are happening from the right, the left, and the center. So, as we know, remember last time we were doing the 3 E's. Steve gave us a hell of a PowerPoint on the crisis, economic crisis, ecological crisis, and the empirical empire, crisis of empire, right? Now, but we know it's a generalized crisis, right, that has many facets to it. These are some of the main trends within that. And things are getting worse. So a lot of economists are predicting a double dip in the economic, in the Great Recession. Jobs, as we know, Walden mentioned that poverty is higher than it's been in 40 years. Job situation, the picture is not getting any better and actually looking worse. But not to worry, the capitalists do have answers. Right? So take your neoliberal medicine, even if it kills you. Cut taxes. Destroy the public sector. We're not even talking about cutting it back anymore. We're in a debate about whether or not there even needs to be one. Privatize everything. Everything can be bought and sold. Buy what you can while you can. So this is a number of things. They're trying to open new markets. The Obama administration is opening up the whole question about some of the trade agreements again on Colombia, South Korea, and Panama. Consumerism, they're still in just the whole intensification of consumerism. Buy more, it helps the economy. Land grabs. We're seeing countries that are buying land in other countries, countries in the north, buying lands in Africa to be able to grow food for their own populations down the line, right? So we're seeing countries, people trying to lock down resources, trying to lock down land for the future. And if you can't buy it, you take it, right? Which is what the U.S. has been very good at recently. The other thing is you blame everybody else or someone else. It's the Chinese, it's the Arabs, or it's the immigrants, and they're dangerous. This is out of Arizona. You've probably seen this, right? Just to give an idea of how ugly things have been getting. But there is another solution that's out there now. It's called the green economy, but it's not what you think, right? When they're talking green, they are talking, yes, how can we talk about a sustainable economy and all that? But when they're talking, when we're hearing of the green economy, often what it means is it's basically a new solution for capitalism. It's not designed to save the planet, it's designed to save capitalism, right? In other words, how do you commodify? How do you commodify clean air? How can you trade that? How can you basically, you buy clean air so you can pollute it, and then you can plant trees somewhere else and then grow that. That's what's called the carbon trading system that they're trying to do. It's market solutions that we're talking about. So it's a lot of what's being promoted out there by folks like Al Gore and different environmental organizations and NGOs that are pushing this concept of green capitalism and the green economy. So we need to be aware of that, because when we hear that term, we're not necessarily talking about sustainable solutions. And so IEN, other groups have been talking a lot about that. What is real and what are false solutions, right? Clean coal is not a real solution. Nuclear is not a real solution. So we need to be about what are the real solutions for the economy and the planet. Okay, so meanwhile, on the right, here, particularly in the United States, there are a lot of formations that we should be aware of. People have heard about ALEC? Yes, how many have heard of ALEC? Yeah, so all these battles that are being fought at the statewide level and a lot of municipal level are coming from here, right? ALEC is basically made up of elected officials and corporations, a lot of money put in by the Koch brothers and others, to basically draft up model legislation and fact sheets that these legislators can use in their statewide battles, right? So they come in armed with the templates for the legislation, and they have the information to counter why, for instance, there really isn't a global climate crisis, right? Or why it's not a man-made crisis, why it's really just something that actually happens naturally. Who's this? Murdoch, very good. Rupert Murdoch, right? A little bit of trouble these days. Had to do a whole full-page apology and a number of, but owns a huge conglomerate, including Fox News. The Koch brothers, right? They're financing a lot of the battles that we're fighting against these days. And then there's a whole slew of people. Folks recognize these folks? Yes. Anybody recognize this person? Yeah, Heinz. This is the head of the Austrian Freedom Party. Austrian Freedom Party his historical legacy is in the Nazi Party, right? They won 29% of the vote in Austria, right? And so we're seeing the rise, not just of the Tea Party, but we're seeing more and more in the North and in Europe, the rise of neo-fascist, right-wing political parties that are actually gaining strength, and also are winning largely on an anti-immigrant agenda, right? So a lot of the same kind of struggles that we're dealing with here. And the people love it, of course. Some people. Well, not everybody, maybe, right? What is this? Arab Spring. What's this? Where is this? Spain. This. Yes, this is actually a pitched battle between right and left forces. Greece has been in a lot of trouble right now. And economically, it's on the verge of collapse. And there's straight up pitched battles happening on a constant basis between left forces and right forces. So this is a common occurrence right now in Greece. And where is this? Yes. Now, there are certain things about these movements that we should also be aware of. They don't necessarily, they're very, a lot of them are youth-led. A lot of it is about unemployment. A lot of it is about democracy. There's not necessarily being put forth a national vision or leadership per se, right? So it's a lot of mobilization. But, you know, so we haven't seen a lot of like follow-up in terms of what's the actual roadmap that they have for power and for a vision of society, right? So they're very important developments, and they're part of a new face of the global justice movement. And hopefully Hamuda, for instance, can be on tomorrow with us to talk more about what's happening with the Arab Spring. But these are very significant developments, of course, that we all need to be aware of. But where they're going, ultimately, is still not clear politically. So, meanwhile, up south, to the left, there are folks that are looking at providing a vision. We have these folks that are still holding the line in Cuba. I had to show this picture. I just love this because, look, it's two different pictures, two different meetings, and Raul is in the same place.
We're the same outfit. It's equal. Totally.
I'm just saying. And then in the Andean region, we've got Evo Morales, Buen Vivir, the whole concept of Buen Vivir, the Cochabamba Accords, human rights, the rights of Mother Nature. We've got Rafael Correa in Ecuador doing really interesting things with the constitution in Ecuador that are building a whole new concept that's based on Buen Vivir, that's based on multinationalism, that's based on the rights of nature. We have socialism for the 20th century being talked about in Venezuela by Hugo Chavez and the movements there. That's heard. Okay, and then we have this other kind of left to center folks. So we got Fernando Lugo in Paraguay. We got Kirchner in Argentina. We've got, what do I keep blanking on his name? El Salvador. Thank you very much, Mauricio Funes. We got Dilma doing jazz hands. And anyway, so yeah, so there are different perspectives that are emerging as well, right? And Latin America is where a lot of these things are being shaped now in terms of a different perspective, alternatives for a vision of the economy, society, democracy, etc. Okay, half the time is left. Okay, so these are some of the social movement organizations that have been, over the last decade, that have been very significant. We have some of them here in the room with us today, the Alianza Social Continental, the World March of Women, there's Friends of the Earth, Via Campesina, groups that have played a major role in some of the global justice struggles over the last several years, including some of these labor federations from around the world. Thank you very much. And then the World Social Forum, which right now is in a period of also transition and figuring out the future direction of the World Social Forum. The next one will be in 2013 in North Africa. Meanwhile, at the White House, it's been a rough year for the Obama administration, as we know. Yeah, so a lot of the things that we'd hoped about have not panned out in terms of the administration. So a lot rides in this next year on this American Jobs Act, right? Which I don't know if folks had a chance to read Bill Gallego's response and the email he sent out to the membership, but basically it's about infrastructure development and tax breaks. So not necessarily the vision that we want to talk about in terms of what we mean by a green economy or a people's economy. So this is one of those things, though, that we do have to figure out. What is our orientation? What's our relationship? Our perspective on this.